Hello, my name is Tony. Released the same year as Aldrich's The Flight of the Phoenix was this torrid little opus, another plane crash in the desert survival action drama. And although the basic setup is the same as Phoenix, crash survivors struggling to save ass when faced with impossible odds in a harsh, unforgiving environment, the rest is very different indeed. Moving to Britain in the 1950s due to the McCarthy witch hunts in Hollywood, director-screenwriter Cy Endfield formed a working relationship with Welsh actor Stanley Baker. They made Hell Drivers and Sea Fury together. This eventually led to Zulu, the pinnacle of each man's career, and one of the greatest and most popular movies ever made. Their follow-up film was intended to be a screen version of Wilbur Smith's blockbuster novel When the Lion Feeds, which had something of a suitably epic sweep to it. Probably ideal considering producer Joseph E. Levine wanted Endfield and Baker to undertake another project based in Africa following the success of Zulu. Anyhow, that didn't happen, and they chose instead to make Sands of the Kalahari, based on the novel The Sands of the Kalahari by William Mulvihill. Yeah, right, him. Old, Mulvihill. It was something on a very much smaller scale, very budget-friendly. Going from Zulu to this was like a downshift from driving a new generation DAF XG Plus to a Mini Countryman. Compact and bijou can be good though, right? Yes, it can. I'm dead sure it can. The deal is thus: at an airport in South Africa, the flight to Johannesburg is cancelled due to a technical problem with the plane. A Boeing, no doubt. A group of stranded passengers club together to finance a charter flight to get them where they need to be. They are alcoholic engineer Mike Bain, Stanley Baker, young divorcee Grace Monkton, Susanna York, German ex-soldier Grimmelman, Harry Andrews, medical doctor Bondaraki, Theodore Bickle, and big game hunter, late arrival Brian O'Brien, Stuart Whitman. South African pilot Sturdivant Nigel Davenport is more than happy to overcrowd the small aircraft for the dough. En route, the plane collides with a swarm of locusts and crash lands in the desert. The co-pilot is killed. Bain sustains a nasty leg injury, but everyone else manages to get free and clear. O'Brien hangs about in the burning wreck to retrieve his hunting rifles and some provisions, narrowly escaping incineration just before it explodes. What a hero! Well, we'll see. With the scorching sun rising, Sturdivant reasons that if they don't find shade and water, they will fry and die. Setting off on foot across the burning sands, half carrying the wounded Bain, they eventually reach a rocky area with deep fissures, a long deserted bushman cave for shelter, a sparse crop of watermelons, and a plentiful water supply. Immediate problem being the place is home to a colony of very feral and territorial Chakma baboons. Initially, they warily keep their distance, screeching their dissatisfaction from afar, but it's only a matter of time before they start to get braver and more confident about approaching the interlopers on their turf. Bain struggles with a fever and alcohol withdrawal. Sturdivant takes charge, allocating jobs to the others. Then he makes a snap decision to try and rape Grace whilst the others are busy. As division of labour goes, it's not a good look. When she stops resisting, sobs in resignation and goes all passive and limp, this sort of turns him off and he abandons the idea. Instead, he tools up with water tanks strapped to his back, takes one of O'Brien's rifles and announces that he will walk across the desert to the coast to find help. Interesting response to a failed sexual assault. Good luck with that, and off he goes. O'Brien steps seamlessly into alpha male role and sets about pursuing his objective of shooting dead all the baboons. The fact he doesn't have enough ammunition to complete the task doesn't faze him at all. He stalks around shirtless, blasting away, eager to exert dominance over a lesser species. It's not just the baboons though. Grace finds herself attracted to him and isn't shy about letting him know. Likewise, he isn't shy about giving her a good, well, you know what I mean. They are soon involved in a sexual relationship. Whatever's going on with O'Brien is far from normal. He figures help isn't coming and that he and Grace's survival is contingent on eliminating the other males in the group. To this end, he forces the kindly Dr. Bondaraki out into the desert at gunpoint with a minimal supply of water, demanding he keeps going to find help, knowing full well the man will likely die. Next, he fools Grimmelman into accompanying him back to the plane wreck. There, he beats the old guy to death. What he hasn't reckoned with is Bane. Recovering and with his leg healed up, he's been passive in attitude and behaviour up until now, but has figured something is afoot. He's tracked O'Brien to the plane and is a witness to him murdering Grimmelman. Back at camp, he reveals all to Grace. Events are funneling down to a confrontation between Bane and O'Brien, but whose side will Grace take and who will be the last man standing? There are many good reasons to enjoy this film. For one, the acting is consistently high caliber across the board. For a man in the lead role, Baker is quieter and more reserved than you might expect, taking a back seat until the midpoint. When the time comes, though, he lights up the screen, suddenly grabbing audience attention and becoming the character to root for. Susanna York, then 26, has never looked more beautiful or elegantly sexy. Initially cool and aloof, she soon warms up under the desert sun as her genteel facade melts. It's a largely thankless role, unfortunately, one that has her vacillating between demureness and breathless promiscuity. She is drawn as being motivated by fear and sexual desire. She gives herself to O'Brien because he seems to be her best option as lover, protector and provider. So there's an unattractive hint of the mercenary about her. York gives a good performance, but her character is far more unsympathetically written than was perhaps necessary. In the end, even though she sides with Bane, it's uncertain if it's because she's doing the right thing or because he's managed to put O'Brien on ice, displacing him as the top dog, if only temporarily. Harry Andrews has an interesting role as the old German soldier who fought for the Nazis in the Second World War. Interesting because his wartime affiliations are not made an issue in the film, which is something of a novelty, and he's a level-headed and rather paternal soul with a quite humane philosophical quality. Likewise, Dr. Bandaraki, an optimistic, cheerful and good-natured chap undeserving of the fate O'Brien has planned for him. Both Andrews and Bickle were seasoned character actors and deliver the goods on cue. Nigel Davenport's amoral pilot is a bit of an anomaly. One moment he's a self-appointed leader attempting rape because as leader he feels he's entitled to do so. The next he's risking his neck to get help. Nothing adds up about his behaviour because his actions don't make any sense. Whatever motivates him is poorly conceived in Enfield's script. And it's not that Davenport doesn't play it well, because he does. He's as dislikable a study of misogyny on a power trip as you'll ever get. Power trip he abruptly abandons. It's as if he was initially thought of as the main antagonist. Then, suddenly, he's removed from the picture so that O'Brien can go to work. The contrivance to achieve that is one without a rational or convincing explanation. Which brings me to Stuart Whitman. It's the best screen performance I've ever seen him give, and it seems ironic that after this film he faded quickly into lesser B-movies and TV roles. The part was originally intended for George Peppard, but for some reason he dropped out after filming began, and Whitman stepped in at short notice, and it paid off. He is perfectly suited to the part of an alpha male hunter, flexing his superiority complex, ruthlessly channeling his paranoia into murder and taking what he wants when he wants it. Although it winds up being Baker's film in the end for a significant part of it, Whitman dominates. His O'Brien is like some malevolent Tarzan figure stalking his newly acquired domain, burning and shooting the local wildlife in a barely controlled rampage. Whilst there are inexplicable character glitches in the script, Enfield's crisp, no-nonsense direction goes some good way to making up for them. He is unflinchingly pessimistic regarding the boundaries between civilization and savagery, and how little provocation is required for human beings to cross them. To greater or lesser extents, all the characters regress towards more primal levels of functioning. On a hunt for meat, when O'Brien wounds an eland, the taciturn Bane and benign Bondaraki try to finish off the thrashing animal by battering it violently with rocks, whilst O'Brien stabs it repeatedly with a knife. It's a visceral and feral episode in which the men relapse to their caveman roots. No sooner is camp set up than Sturdivant thinks, right, gloves are off here, man, let's rape the girl. Instant regression. Come on, man, it's only been a day in the wilderness so far. As for the girl, Grace, like the lone bitch in a wolf pack of dogs, gravitates instinctively to the alpha, the biological specimen most likely to ensure her survival. Pure lizard brain stuff. Even Grimmelman, when he realises what O'Brien has in store for him, takes control of the hunting rifle and with little hesitation pulls the trigger. trigger. Pity for him, O'Brien had enough cunning and forethought to remove the bullets. Oops. In his warped mind, the fact that Grimmelman would pull the trigger on him justifies and reinforces his belief about the threats to his survival, even though he orchestrated the situation. Who exactly are the animals here? In no time at all, cooperation gives way to chaos. The baboon colony, by comparison, has a more cohesive societal structure. They stick together, work together, play together, and finally, attack together. Respect here for the realistic way in which the animals are handled on screen. No inserts from documentaries or National Geographic flicks here. No CGI, folks. These are the real things. Well, mostly. Bane, who at the outset seems the most disorganized personality, is the one who gets his shit together most effectively and collectively. Betrayed by Grace as he lies in wait for O'Brien in the cave, fate smiles upon him and allows him to incapacitate his foe and imprison him in a stony pit, from which it is impossible to escape. Mother Nature, however, throws a random curveball by sending forth torrential rain. The pit fills with water, and O'Brien treads it until he's out. Next day sees Bane resolve to another face-off with his nemesis, at which point a rescue helicopter arrives. Someone made it back to civilization to summon a rescue party, either Sturdivant or Bondaraki. We see the former made it to the coast, only to find himself in an area reserved for diamond exploration, trespassers to be arrested or shot. He's picked up by the Diamond Mining Company security, who don't believe his story of a plane crash. The latter is found by a party of bushmen who give him water and allow him to follow them out to the wilderness. It is the final image that is truly haunting, and the one that will stay with you. O'Brien hides in the rocks and sees Bane and Grace getting rescued. Knowing he will be tried for murder, actual and attempted, O'Brien elects to stay behind in his new habitat. Here he can live out his native hunter-warrior fantasy, only the baboons have other ideas. After he confronts and kills the leader of the colony of primates with his bare hands, wounded and bleeding, he is near collapse. The final moments are an aerial shot of the baboons slowly swarming in on him. Unforgettable. Cinematography by Irwin Hillier, who worked for Powell and Pressburger and lensed the Dam Busters, is so granite hard and diamond sharp in conveying the unrelenting heat of a searing desert environment, it induces actual thirst. You'll be left craving a pint of ice water when it's over. Whilst the score by John Dankworth is a jazzy little workout and broodingly unintrusive partner for the action on screen. Sands of the Kalahari is a different beast to most survival dramas, homing in on the darker psychological aspects and motivations of human animals in a perilous situation. It suggests we are only a fraction away from surrendering to our more primal impulses depending on circumstances. The pleasantries of civilization and the politer social conventions abandoned to the altogether baser dictates of the survival instinct. There are problems with it, most notably Enfield's script fudging the issue of motivation for the behaviours of certain characters, which defy rational justification. As a result, O'Brien is reduced to a paranoid madman, exaggerating out of all proportion the threats posed by the other men in the group. Yet it does dare to be different, and thanks to its remarkably disturbing ending, is something you won't forget in a hurry. Heartfelt thanks for your time and attention. Feel free to do whatever you choose to do next. Hit like, don't like, comment, subscribe, check out my early access Patreon thing, or even make a welcome financial contribution via the thanks button. I think maybe one more to conclude my pursuit of a 60s survival mode trilogy. Pursuit being the operative word for the next outing. Coming right up. So, keep 'em peeled, pilgrims.